What happens when a grocery store CEO puts on a fake beard and a name tag and ends up stacking expired yogurt on the shelf because his supervisor told him to do it anyway? Quinton Rellings leaned back in his office chair, staring at the quarterly reports. Sales were steady, customer satisfaction looked fine on paper, but something didn't sit right. The numbers were too clean. Too average. He'd built his grocery chain from a single corner shop 15 years ago. 12 stores now all across the state. But lately he felt far from the floor. Far from the truth. He glanced at the report from Store 7 Eastwood. Nothing outrageous. But the employee turnover was higher than any other location and customer reviews were vague but off. Unhelpful staff. Bad vibes. Never fresh. Hard to pin down, easy to ignore. But Quinton didn't ignore things. Not when it came to his name being on the building. Time to go bag groceries, he muttered. Eastwood was a mid-sized location in a busy neighborhood. The kind of place with steady foot traffic but rarely a line out the door. Quinton set up his disguise carefully, gray hoodie, fake beard, thick glasses, and a baseball cap pulled low. He used the alias Eric, since he rarely visited stores in person, always relying on district managers and had never met most of the floor staff. No one would recognize him. Plus, Eastwood had seen 3 different store managers in 2 years. Faces came and went. He showed up Monday morning just before opening. A short woman in her early 40s with sharp eyes and a clipboard met him near the back door. "You're the new guy?" "Eric," she asked. "That's me," Quinton said. "I'm Carla. Floor supervisor. You'll be stocking dairy today. Don't be slow. We're short-handed and I don't like babysitting." "Got it." The staff shortage was obvious. 2 cashiers, 1 guy in produce, and 1 other stocker already sweating in frozen foods. According to Carla, the last 2 hires quit within a week. "Kids think they're too good to work," she muttered. Quinton got to work. The job was familiar, he'd done it himself years ago. Unload crates, check dates, rotate stock, keep it clean. But by mid-morning, something strange happened. He pulled a tub of cottage cheese from the crate and squinted. "Hey, Carla," he called. She walked over, chewing gum. "This expired 3 days ago." "Yeah, I know," she said. "Put it out anyway." He blinked. "You want me to stock expired food? We're not throwing out half a case. It's fine. People don't even notice. Just keep the older ones in front." He hesitated. "That's not safe." Carla narrowed her eyes. "Are you new to life, Eric? You want to keep this job or not?" He didn't answer. Just nodded and stacked slowly. Inside, he was boiling. By noon, he'd counted at least 20 expired items on the shelves: yogurt, milk, pre-packaged salads. All pushed forward. The fresh stuff buried behind. He noticed a young woman in a green apron working near the bakery, watching him. She looked unsure, then walked over. "Hey," she said quietly. "I saw her tell you to put that stuff out. Don't do it. Just don't." Quinton looked at her. "Thanks. What's your name?" "Rowena Flinch." She glanced around. "I get in trouble for throwing stuff out, but I still do it when I can. I've had people get sick." One woman came back crying with her kid. "I told the manager, but he said it wasn't our fault." Quinton felt a knot in his stomach. "Why are you still here?" She gave a weak smile. "Because someone has to care." He didn't say anything, just nodded. After lunch, Carla barked at him again. "You done with dairy? Go help on dry goods. And no more chatting with bakery girl. She's got attitude." He moved to aisle 7. As he shelved cereal boxes, he watched Carla out of the corner of his eye. She barely moved. Spent most of her time behind the customer service desk scrolling on her phone. When a customer asked her for help finding oatmeal, she waved toward an aisle and turned away. Quinton loaded a cart and headed back toward dairy. He caught Rowena tossing a tub of expired sour cream into the waste bin. "You'll get written up for that," he said. She shrugged. "So be it." That night, he went home exhausted, angry, and unsettled. He sat in his car for 10 minutes before starting the engine. This wasn't just laziness. It was a dangerous culture problem. Carla wasn't just ignoring policy, she was making it worse. And people like Rowena were being punished for doing the right thing. He pulled out his phone and called the district manager. "Don't tell anyone. But I'm working Eastwood this week. I want to see everything. Understood, the voice said. You okay, sir? Quinton stared out the windshield. Not even close. Wednesday morning started colder than expected. Quinton arrived early again. Before dawn, his disguise intact. The store lights flickered on one by one, humming softly as refrigeration units kicked in. He entered through the employee entrance, nodding silently to the janitor mopping near the break room. No one questioned him. That bothered him more than he expected. He clocked in and headed straight to the back. The dairy crates were already delivered and sitting quietly in the cooler. He grabbed a dolly and started loading the new shipment. As he worked, he overheard Carla giving instructions to a new teenager stacking produce. That's too slow. You need to move faster. It's not rocket science, you're putting apples in a bin, not building a spaceship, she snapped. Quinton didn't look up, but the kid's face flushed as he nodded quickly and returned to his task. He kept his pace steady. Today, he wanted to observe more. Not just Carla, but how the rest of the team functioned under her tone. He finished dairy ahead of schedule, ignoring the half case of expired cream cheese that Carla had set aside with a sharp, "Don't touch that. I'll handle it." He knew she wouldn't. He made his way to aisle 4 where Rowena was straightening the bread shelf. She looked up and gave a cautious nod. Her eyes were tired but focused. "You always get here this early?" he asked, stocking the shelf beside her. "If I don't, nobody bakes the morning batch. The timer's broken on the oven's been that way for months. I set it manually and check every 10 minutes. Not that anyone cares." He paused. "You report it?" 3 times. Once to the old manager, twice to Carla. She said, "It's not my problem. Write it in the book." "There a maintenance book?" Rowena pointed to a clipboard hanging by the bakery's side wall. The top sheet was stained with flour, and only the first page had writing on it. The rest was blank. He took a closer look. The broken timer had been reported twice in January. Nothing since. "You ever get help?" he asked. Rowena shook her head. "Only if one of the cashiers gets sent back here during slow hours. Otherwise, I run bakery and clean up alone. I've been asking for a second opener for 6 months. Before he could reply, a loud voice echoed from the front. "Eric, what, you think you're on a sightseeing tour? I told you dry goods, not story time." He turned, Carla glaring at him from the end of aisle 1. "I'm moving," he said, keeping his tone even. As he walked past her, she leaned in. "You want to keep playing buddy-buddy with the bakery girl, be my guest. Just don't whine when you get stuck cleaning spills all day." By noon, he had been reassigned twice. First to restock canned goods, then to mop up a spill in frozen foods. The floor was slick with condensation, but no wet floor sign had been posted. He mopped silently, watching customers slip slightly as they stepped past. A middle-aged woman in a floral sweater approached him. "Excuse me, do you know where the almond flour is?" He opened his mouth, but Carla cut in from behind. "It's by the gluten-free stuff. Aisle 8. The customer nodded and left. Carla turned to him. "Don't talk to them unless they ask you directly. You're not here to chat. You're here to clean." He wanted to respond, but he kept his jaw tight. Instead, he walked away. Back in the break room, he found the new teenager from produce slumped over a table, rubbing his temples. His name tag read Devin. "You good?" Quinton asked. Devin looked up. "Yeah, just tired. I work mornings here and evenings at the pizza place 2 blocks over." "You doing both full-time?" Devin nodded. "Trying to help out my mom. She's got medical bills. I was hoping this job would be more chill than the kitchen. But Carla kind of makes it hard." Quinton sat across from him. "She give you grief often?" "Every hour. Said I look lazy because I lean while peeling corn. I was peeling for an hour straight." A pause. "She ever say anything else?" Devin hesitated. "She said I should cut my hair if I want to be taken seriously. Said the braids make me look like I'm trying to be something I'm not." I didn't even know what to say. Quinton's expression darkened. "You report that? To who? The hotline?" "My friend tried that at his store. Got fewer shifts after. Nobody wants to be labeled a problem." Quinton stood. "Thanks for telling me." Devin stared, confused. "You're not going to tell her, right?" "No," Quinton replied. But something's going to change. He left the break room and walked straight to the loading dock where the assistant manager, Lionel, was checking off a shipment. "You the assistant here?" Quinton asked. "Yeah." "You need something?" "You ever notice Carla speaking to employees like they're beneath her?" Lionel sighed and folded his clipboard. "I try not to get in her way. She's been here longer than I have. I'm technically above her, but she runs the floor. I'm mostly here for inventory, logistics, vendor coordination." "You okay with how she talks to people?" Lionel hesitated. "No, but she's loud, and people don't want the drama. Most folks just keep their heads down." "Even when she insults their hair?" Lionel looked away. "I didn't hear that. But it wouldn't surprise me." Quinton walked off. He didn't need more confirmation. By late afternoon, Carla had disappeared into the back office. Rowena was sweeping near the entrance when Quinton passed her again. "She ever disappear like that often?" he asked. Rowena nodded. "Usually during rush hour. We get slammed around 5 and she vanishes for a smoke or sits behind the service counter pretending to balance tills." "Who handles the floor?" "We do." A customer stormed in moments later, carrying a bag with a sour expression. She slammed a container on the counter, curdled cream leaking from the side. "This made my kids sick," she snapped. "I want a refund." The cashier looked flustered. Let me get the manager." Quinton stepped forward. "Ma'am, I'm sorry that happened. Do you remember when you bought it?" "Sunday. It was buried behind newer stuff. I didn't even check the date." He turned to the cashier. "Can you process the return and offer a $10 voucher for the trouble?" The cashier blinked. I guess." Carla emerged just as the refund finished. She looked at the scene and frowned. "What's going on here?" The customer glared. "Bought spoiled food." "That's what?" Carla turned to the cashier. "You don't process anything without my say-so." Quinton stepped between them. "She did the right thing. The customer deserved that refund." Carla crossed her arms. "And who are you to say what she deserved?" Quinton pulled off his cap. Then the glasses. Then the beard. Employees nearby froze. Rowena dropped her broom. "I'm Quinton Rellings," he said calmly. "Founder and CEO of this company. And I've been watching everything for 3 days." Carla's eyes widened. She opened her mouth, then shut it again. "You've instructed staff to stock expired food. You've ignored maintenance issues. You've insulted employees based on appearance. You've refused to assist customers. You've created a toxic, unsafe, and unethical environment. You're done here." She laughed nervously. "You can't just, I can. And I have. Collect your things. Security will walk you out." Rowena stepped back, stunned. Devon had come out from the back and stood frozen by the cooler. Quinton turned to Lionel. "You're interim manager until further notice. I expect a full report on maintenance needs, staffing gaps, and training issues by Friday. You will report directly to me." Lionel nodded, speechless. Quinton looked around. "Everyone else, thank you. For showing up. For pushing through. You deserved better than this." He met Rowena's eyes. "You especially." Then he walked toward the front doors, already dialing HR. There was still a lot to fix. But the worst part was done. The following morning, Quinton arrived without the disguise. His usual dark blazer and pressed shirt stood out sharply against the standard store uniforms, and heads turned the moment he stepped through the front sliding doors. He didn't pause for small talk. "Lionel," he called, spotting the assistant manager near the produce scale. "Office. Now." Lionel followed without a word, adjusting his badge with nervous fingers. Once inside the cramped office in the back, Quinton shut the door and pulled a chair. "You've had 12 hours. What did you find?" Lionel handed over a folded sheet of printer paper. "This is everything I could verify last night. I stayed until 2. Rowena helped me double-check some of the more urgent issues." Quinton read silently. The list was longer than he expected. Refrigeration sensors in aisle 6 had been malfunctioning for weeks. The bakery mixer was leaking oil. 2 carts had broken wheels that had never been tagged out. More worrying, the waste logs didn't match inventory, especially in dairy and deli. You think Carla was altering numbers? I don't have proof. But the way she handled markdowns. Lionel hesitated. She rarely logged them. Just told people to make it disappear. Quinton's jaw tightened. Did she ever take product off the floor herself? I've seen her walk out with bags, but I didn't ask what was inside. Everyone assumed she was on good terms with corporate. That ends now. I've already sent her termination paperwork to legal. HR will contact you today for a formal incident report. Be honest. No glossing. I will. Quinton stood. You're interim manager, but I'm not handing you the role unless I see initiative. That means fixing the culture, not just the paperwork. Lionel nodded. Understood. Quinton left the office and stepped back onto the floor. The store wasn't open yet, but a few employees were moving quietly through their sections. A cashier wiped down the self-checkout screens. A young man in frozen foods loaded boxes with headphones around his neck. Rowena was already at the bakery, setting timers and adjusting pans in the proofer. He walked over. Morning, he said. She glanced up, cautious but composed. Didn't expect to see you this early. I didn't expect to meet someone holding this place together either. She didn't respond. I'm not here to make speeches, he continued. I came to ask if you'd be willing to help restructure the morning operations. You've been opening solo long enough to know what's missing. Rowena wiped her hands on her apron. You're asking if I want to do Carla's job? No. I'm asking if you're willing to help shape the next version of it. You'll still be baking, but I'll authorize an opener to assist you starting tomorrow. You won't be alone again. I've also scheduled a walkthrough with facilities next week to deal with the broken equipment. She folded her arms. What happens after you leave? I've put a review schedule in place. Monthly visits. Randomized. I'll be back. Rowena nodded slowly. Then I'll help. But I'm not doing it to impress you. I'm doing it because the others deserve better. That's exactly the reason I'm asking. As customers began trickling in through the front doors, Quinton shifted focus. He spent the morning shadowing different employees, not watching from a distance, but working beside them. He helped unload the dairy truck with Devin, who now moved with more confidence, though his eyes still tracked Lionel warily. You doing all right? Quinton asked as they stacked milk crates. Devin nodded. Better. People are talking more now. Yesterday, we actually finished stocking before the lunch crowd hit. That hasn't happened in weeks. You sleeping at all? Some. Still doing the evening shift at the pizza place, but I dropped Tuesdays. Needed one day off. That's smart. Devin hesitated. Did anyone ever tell Carla about what she said to me? About my hair? I heard it directly. That's why she's gone. A long pause. Thanks, Devin said quietly. Across the store, Quinton noticed the cashier from the refund incident restocking registers. Her name tag read Vanessa. He approached. You handled that customer well yesterday. She looked surprised to see him. I wasn't sure if I was going to get in trouble. You did the right thing. Refunds for spoiled products are policy, not exceptions. I figured. But Carla always acted like giving credits was a personal insult. That's over. You have any concerns going forward? She opened her drawer and pulled out a crumpled piece of paper. This is our till shortage log. We've had gaps in the count every week, small amounts, a few dollars, but it's always during mid-shifts. I told Carla once. She said to stop keeping score. Did you log it anywhere else? No. We don't have an internal reporting system for that. Just this. Quinton took the paper. I'll have accounting pull the drawer histories. If there's a pattern, we'll find it. He moved on to the back room where the inventory system was still running on a cracked monitor. Two stockers were manually entering case counts with dry erase markers on a board that hadn't been wiped down in weeks. Why are you using a board instead of the software? He asked. One of them, a tall man with a shaved head and quiet voice, shrugged. The scanner's been broken since February. Carla said we didn't need it, so we just write things down. Sometimes she changes the numbers later. You report it? The man shook his head. Didn't think it mattered. Quinton turned to Lionel, who had just walked in. Get the district IT lead here this week. Replace that terminal. And I want the scanner fixed or replaced by Friday. Lionel scribbled notes. Got it. The rest of the afternoon moved briskly. Quinton didn't stand still. He rotated between departments, answering questions, jotting notes, and building a real picture of the store's needs from ground level. By 4, his notebook was full. Before leaving, he gathered the staff near the break room. Nothing formal, just a quiet conversation with those who stayed past their shift to hear what came next. I owe you all an apology, he said. This store was neglected. Not just by your supervisor, but by me. I trusted reports, not people. And that's not how leadership works. Nobody interrupted. I've made changes. But they won't mean anything without your input. Over the next 2 weeks, I'm setting up one-on-one check-ins. Voluntary. You can share what's working, what isn't, and what you need. No middlemen. A few employees nodded. Others just listened. Your jobs are hard enough without bad leadership making them harder. That ends now. We're rebuilding trust one shift at a time. He stepped back, giving them space. As the group dispersed, Rowena approached with a clipboard. There's something else, she said. He took the clipboard and scanned the top line. It was a list of expired items she'd cataloged from the past month, items that had been stocked, not pulled. At the bottom, she'd written the names of employees who'd tried to stop it from happening and been reprimanded. I couldn't say all of this out loud, she said. Now you've seen it. Quinton closed the clipboard. This won't get buried. He left the store without fanfare. But the tone had changed. Not because of his title, but because someone had finally listened and acted. Not one word of it had been motivational fluff. Just accountability delivered plainly. And that, he knew, mattered more than any speech ever could. By the start of the second week, Quinton returned to the Eastwood store early Monday morning unannounced. This time in his usual attire. No disguise, no false name, no need. The shock had worn off, and now the real work began. His presence no longer drew nervous glances. People still noticed, but with growing trust, not fear. Still, he kept his role clear. He wasn't there to hover, he was there to hold the line. He'd already reviewed the new staffing schedule Lionel submitted over the weekend. It was conservative but realistic. A second bakery opener was added, someone from another store with cross-training experience working a split shift. Inventory responsibilities were redistributed to reduce backroom bottlenecks. And the floor now had a midday utility floater to relieve overwhelmed departments during peak hours, even if only for 90 minutes. It wasn't a full fix, but it was movement. Quinton stood near the dry goods aisle, watching quietly as Devin restocked cereal. His pace was steady, more focused than before. Lionel joined him, holding a clipboard. He's been here since 6, Lionel said. Asked for the early shift. Said he liked getting the tough stuff out of the way. Quinton nodded. He's still doing the evening job? 3 nights a week? But he's managing it better. They walked toward the bakery where the new opener, Liana, was working alongside Rowena. The ovens were mid-cycle and the proofer beeped softly in rhythm. The broken timer had been replaced over the weekend, along with the scanner terminal at the back. The bakery mixer had been flagged for replacement entirely. Quinton stepped inside. The scent of rising dough filled the air. How's the pairing working? He asked. Rowena glanced at Liana, who gave a small nod before returning to glazing pastries. Better than I expected. She's fast and she doesn't cut corners. You getting enough rest now? Some. I'm still adjusting. But I'm not dragging through the day like before. He scanned the space. The clipboard she'd used for tracking expired items was gone. In its place was a new digital waste log installed Friday, linked to the inventory system. You training anyone on the new system? I showed Vanessa how to log bakery waste already. I'll loop in Devin next. Perfect. Keep going. He left them to it and headed toward the front lanes. Vanessa was assisting a customer with a return this time, a torn cereal box. She handled it calmly, processed the credit, and offered to help find a replacement. The customer thanked her without frustration. No tension, no escalation. Quinton waited until the customer left. Vanessa, he said. "How's the drawer check system coming?" "I've got a new log set up. I started matching drawer reports against the safe deposits each night. So far, it's clean. But I've also started reviewing camera timestamps when things feel off. Keep logging everything, not just shortages, overages too. I want patterns, not assumptions." She nodded. "Understood." He moved toward the break room. On the wall just outside, a printed notice was pinned up. "Employee listening sessions sign-up sheet." Half the slots were already filled. Quinton had scheduled 10-minute windows across the next 2 days. He wanted to hear from everyone, not just the vocal few. Inside, Devin waited by the coffee station. "You signed up?" Quinton asked. "Yeah, tomorrow morning." "I figured I'd wait till others went first." "You don't have to wait." "I know. Just want to think it through first." Quinton respected that. He didn't press. Later that afternoon, he sat in the office with Lionel going through the formal HR reports. Carla's exit had triggered a full audit. The findings were worse than expected. Besides the expired items and verbal abuse, she'd overridden markdown limits on her login multiple times, enabling off-record inventory write-offs. A pattern emerged. She would bypass digital logs, direct employees to dump items without scanning them out, then alter the waste logs to show minimal loss. She was inflating shrink to hide her own errors, Quinton said, setting the papers down, and using fear to keep people from challenging her. Lionel nodded. Nobody knew how to push back. They do now. The audit also revealed something else. Multiple complaints filed under the anonymous hotline had been marked as resolved without any follow-up. Quinton had already begun reviewing the hotline's process across all stores. A new policy was drafted and would be rolled out statewide. Every complaint would now be assigned a tracking ID, and resolution required sign-off from a district-level officer outside the store's chain of command. He stood. "You'll get a formal offer by the end of the week," he said, "for the permanent manager role." Lionel looked surprised. "You're sure? You've done the work. Just keep doing it." He left the office and walked through the store one final time that day. The floor was clean. Shelves were stocked properly. Fresh product was front-facing, with dates clearly visible. Customers moved through the aisles without confusion or frustration. The difference wasn't dramatic, but it was real. Near the floral section, he saw Rowena speaking with an elderly woman about the day's bread selection. She offered her a sample, something small but warm, and the woman smiled before gently patting her arm. "Tell your boss the bread's better than it's been in years," the woman said. Quinton caught Rowena's glance across the aisle. She didn't say anything, just nodded toward him, then returned to her work. That evening, Quinton sat in his car outside the store, watching as the late shift began to arrive. A few newer employees walked in with quiet confidence. No one looked over their shoulder. No one hesitated at the door. He picked up his phone and called his executive assistant. "I want 2 things," he said. "First, a full review of our store-level leadership training. We need to be screening for more than operational experience. We need people who know how to lead. And second," the assistant asked, "get me a third-party audit firm for the hotline system. I want to know how many of our complaints were buried." "Understood." He ended the call and leaned back. He didn't feel triumphant. He felt responsible. A store didn't rot overnight. It slipped, inch by inch, when no one was looking, when people stopped listening, when they assumed that silence meant everything was fine. This time he'd listened, and he wouldn't stop